Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to start off with offering, on behalf of Milwaukee Police Department, condolences to the victims and family victims of the Highland Park incident. Our heart is out to that community, understand the challenges of firearms, something that we see in our own city, but I also implore that we all do something. It's important for us to be able to make sure that we impact this firearm challenge in our communities, respectively, within our own wheelhouse of what we can do. But with that being said, I'm happy to report that we are making strides in our respective crime concerns within our city. In the last 6 months, we have had some improvements in regards to many of our what we call Part 1 crimes that reflected in regards to our city. Overall, for total violent crime, we saw 8% decrease in the past 6 months. We also saw an 8% decrease in total property crimes. What must be noted, we saw burglaries decrease by 16% from 1,026 to, from 1,226 to 1,026, and also auto thefts decreased 10% from 4,804 to 4,308. Rape, robbery, and aggravated assault also decreased between 8 and 14%. We do note that we do still have challenges in regards to our homicides and our non-fatal. We understand that we have a firearm problem, especially when you couple it with poor conflict resolution, which is why we've had deployed recently Operation Summer Guardian, where we understand that we need to be targeted utilizing our resources, our effective shot spotter calls, to have a rapid deployment in regards to being able to pinpoint those who are doing harm, especially when it comes to firearms within our community. But also working with our partners. We have a weekly public safety review. We have another program with the Sojourner Truth House, which is the domestic violence high-risk teams, because we understand that those are true impact for those who are involved in firearm issues that we're seeing reflected in our homicide and non-fatals. As we talk about the homicide and non-fatals, one thing that we are noticing, especially with our non-fatals, is that even though we have lesser incidents, we have more individuals being shot, which goes back again to our problems in regards to firearms. We understand that there are individuals utilizing high-capacity weapons, weapons that have 50-round drums, 30-round clips, and unfortunately, the impact in regards to those particular non-fatal shooting incidents where we're seeing more individuals harmed. We also are seeing, again, issues in regards to our homicides, both homicides and non-fatals. We see that there is that unfortunate poor conflict resolution with availability of firearms. We also should take note in regards to negligent of storing of weapons. We're seeing an uptick in young ones, the children, 3 to 5 year olds who are taking weapons unsecured and unfortunately having disastrous results. So we understand those challenges and working on those particular challenges. For Part 1 crime clearances, we are within national standards or above national standards. We have homicides, we're seeing ourselves at 55%. Again, reflecting what we're seeing, a capacity issue of more homicides than we have than normal. Utilizing and redirecting resources from investigators to be able to stay ahead of our challenge in regards to seeing so many homicides incidents within our city. But we are seeing, again, clearances for 20% for rape, robbery over the national standard at 28%. Aggravated assaults, we're not where we should be at for the clearances, but 39%. But we are seeing, again, improvements for auto theft. We went from 2% to 6%, putting forth resources such as our motor vehicle investigator team that are having a focus, being able to look at those who are doing the most harm in regards to auto thefts within our community. In regards to our crash data, we're seeing that the fatalities from 2020 now to 2021 have decreased by 6%. Crashes decreased by 15% compared to 2021, and hit and run crashes decreased by 19%. We like to believe that our work with our traffic safety unit, working with our community, we have a number of community stakeholders, whether it's individuals from the Sherman Park area or Safe and Sound partners, understand that we have a multifaceted approach in regards to enforcing, but also affecting the messaging, and under the guidance of Mayor Johnson, having the work with Department of Public Works of redesigning our neighborhoods and streets. So it's important to keep that momentum going to impact those issues with our street safety. Continuing on, since we've had instituted the traffic safety unit, we're seeing, compared from 2022 to 2021, reckless driving calls decreased by 9%, reckless driving arrests decreased by 6%, and reckless driving citations decreased by 37%. So we went from 2773 to 1751. And reckless driving citations with speeding decreased by 57%, down from 18,201 to 7817. In fact, my team will give these data points to you afterwards. And since we instituted the towing for reckless driving, or having that coupled with the non-registered vehicles, we have seen over 52 tows since May 1st. So we are constantly putting the foot on the pedal of ensuring that we have a targeted but also robust enforcement when it comes to our reckless driving and other related issues to the reckless driving. Calls for service. Even though Priority 1 calls have decreased in 2022, which is a good one because Priority 1 calls are those for life and liberty type of incidents, we have seen an increase in what we call the Priority 3s and Priority 4 calls. Those lower level calls, still important calls, but lower level calls, Priority 3s are trouble subject or gambling calls, burglary of business when no one's on the scene, and Priority 4 calls are those that are 911 abuse, conveyed property pickups. So those are still what we consider lower level calls, but we've seen an increase between 6 and 5% in regards to those particular calls for service. So we know that we have a lot of work to do in regards to our firearm issues, our challenges with homicides and non-fatals, but we do have a lot to celebrate and to be pleased on in regards to the other Part 1 crimes, those important crimes that's going on in our city, are dealing with the reckless driving, the issues of auto thefts. We're seeing gains in that, but we still ask the community to help us in working to make even more gains. Understand that the police department cannot be the only source of doing this type of work. We need everyone, all hands on deck. So appreciative of Mayor Johnson, of other cabinet members within the Johnson administration, especially when it comes to working with the challenges of reckless driving in the Department of Public Works. But we all understand that we still need to ensure that we are keeping our eye on the ball and working hard to make and continue to make this city safe. Thank you. Mayor Johnson.
Well, thank you so much, Chief. Really appreciate your partnership. And as you mentioned, of course, we're alarmed by the number of homicides that we see in the city. I receive a briefing every single time that somebody is shot in the city, both fatal as well as non-fatal by the police. And I'm not numb to those details. I'm not numb to those updates. And to be clear, it's not just me who's not numb. Chief Norman is not numb. The men and the women who serve on our police department are not numb. The members of our fire department who respond to these scenes to provide life-saving emergency care, they're not numb to the things that we see either. So as the chief mentioned, we are intervening, we're offering positive alternatives, we're demanding accountability, and we're working to address issues at the root cause so that we can get crime and disorder under control in Milwaukee. Our police play a crucial role in making our city safer, and I support their work. That's oftentimes why you see Chief Norman and myself standing at this podium working to deliver results for Milwaukee residents, especially in terms of public safety. Homicides in Milwaukee are the result overwhelmingly of gun violence, and it's impossible to address the issue without talking about guns. It's impossible to talk about this without addressing the issue of guns in the hands of people who should not have them. And I've said that time and time again. There are too many people in Milwaukee, and too many people in this state, too many people nationally, who have guns who shouldn't even have their hands on a trigger in the first place. We can't talk about this without knowing that there are guns that are used to settle arguments, simple disputes, where folks should just talk it out. have an argument, maybe even have a fist fight, but then still see the light of another day because they don't whip out a gun to solve that dispute with deadly violence. We can't talk about it without talking about the fact that we need to have stronger, solid background checks. Makes no sense. I talked about this before. You guys have covered this before, right? I've got a brother who has been in trouble, who is in prison right now. I've got this power that I possess as a law-abiding resident in this state. A law-abiding resident in this state, I can go and buy a gun, and presumably a lot of ammunition if I desired, and I could take that gun and I could give it to my brother, were he not in prison right now, who has been in trouble. I don't want that power, and nobody should have that power. We should be working to make sure that every time a gun is transferred from one person to another, that there is a background check, so we stop incidents like that from happening, not just in Milwaukee, but across the state of Wisconsin, and indeed across the United States. And we've also got to talk about the fact that there are too many guns that are handled carelessly. Again, I get a notification every time somebody gets shot, and it's been heartbreaking to see these stories over the course of the past week or so where there have been 3-year-old kids who have gotten their hands on guns and have been shot. You know, it's senseless. It does not need to happen. You know, Chief Norman and I and so many other partners, we came together just a couple of months ago and said that, hey, there are gun locks available free of charge, no questions asked. Just come in to one of our fire department locations and get a gun lock, as well as some youth-serving organizations in the city as well. Sprinkled throughout Milwaukee. You can get them. They're free. If you got a gun at home, put the lock on. Secure it. Make sure that your young people, especially the youngest people, our youngest residents, our kids, don't get their hands on guns, don't have that access, and don't end up hurting themselves or others, fatally or non-fatally, with a gun. So changes in gun laws are needed, and the city, by statute, of course, as we all know, cannot make those changes. So we, of course, look to our partners at the state and federal governments in order to make those changes. There are reasons to be hopeful in the crime numbers from the first half of the year, and the chief just talked about that a little bit ago. Robbery, burglary, auto theft, they're all down double digits. That's good news compared to last year. Thefts, rapes, and aggravated assaults as well, they're down by similar margins too. That is good news from last year. Reckless driving data is headed in the right direction too. We've got to, as the chief said, keep our foot on the pedal in order to make sure that we continue to make progress there. So the takeaway from this data is simple. It's that we can make a difference. We are making a difference, and we can continue to make a difference. But it can't just be on us. We need everybody in the game. You know, there's no time for folks to sit on the sidelines, right? We need teachers, we need preachers, we need mentors, we need friends, we need mayors and police, yes, we need parents too. We need community members. We need everybody to step up and everybody to be a part of this, because all of us have a role to play. With rising crime numbers, they're not inevitable. We can stop them if we work together. We can take steps together as a community to reduce crime. So we will continue to work hard to make Milwaukee safer, and I'm optimistic as well about the future of our city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate those words. Any questions?
Chief, as you went through this mid-year review and really took a look at the numbers from the crime to crashes to shooting, what were you most disappointed to share with us today? What numbers?
Homicides. Seeing that we've made strides. We're not where we were previously for homicides, but we're not where we need to be. And one death is one death too many. And you can see the farm issue, as the mayor talked about, affects not only homicides, but also affects our non-fatals. We had a challenging weekend. There's no, hiding that. But I am still pleased to know that there's more than just the police department working on this issue. Understand that we need to be working together. We share our data with a number of different partners out there, because they need to know where the sources of our concerns are coming from and how they can help the lift. We cannot just talk about being, working in collaboration without showing it ourselves. So we do put forth efforts. We've moved over investigators into the homicide unit to deal with the clearances and ensuring that there's accountability. But like I've always said in the past, I'd rather not have to do any particular type of investigation that we can affect on the front end. So that is something that is a big thing. That's why we have Operation Summer Gardening. That plays into having more proactivity in regards to being able to intervene real time. But we also understand we need to have messaging. We need to support our partners out there. Like I said, a number of different stakeholders out there to be part of those discussions and share the data and see what we can do to help change that trajectory.
Okay, now we'll start on that side.
Oh,
Yeah.
no problem.
Just looking at auto thefts, that's been a high profile crime in the city. You said it's down 10%. Is there, and with Lurkley also down, can you talk about if there's a specific police effort that's kind of led you to see that decrease, or anything that you see as a positive that you can keep going forward in that direction to see this continue to go down?
Absolutely. So earlier this year, we put together a motor vehicle task force that has a specific use of resources to focus on those who are doing the most harm in regards to the particular auto thefts, the rings, the individuals where they're doing their particular crime at, being focused within those geographic issues or areas, but also in regards to shoring up our frontline officers of what they're doing for the